Welcome to Charts This Week, Forex Report. I want to take a quick look at the majors. These are all on the Updata feed. You could easily do these on any of the 20 different data sources that Updata is compatible with, whether it be Bloomberg, Reuters, you name it. We're compatible with most data services nowadays, but on the Updata feed, we carry a very good Forex service. So here we're just taking a look at the majors and really working through about 30 charts on the majors. This analysis you could do yourself at any time, and we just really want to show you how you do this with your Updata system so you get the hang of how you can run the analysis. So first of all, we're looking at Euro-dollar. Euro-dollar on the daily chart. We've broken up through the cloud here on the daily chart. And that's very significant. The fact that we are now back above the cloud, we're in bullish territory. This implies euro strength, dollar weakness. Forget everything you're reading in the press about the Eurozone and all the crises. At the moment, this chart is telling us the euro strength, dollar weakness, we're above the cloud. So euro-dollar, the outlook is that we're going to go higher. And in fact, we have got point and figure targets to about 156 to the top of that range on the longer term charts. But if we come into the 60-minute chart, we see here that again, we're above the trend. We had our cross in the middle of February, so we were turned bullish on the euro. We've tested the cloud a few times. Notice the way we've come in and really tested this cloud, confirming the cloud support, but now we're through on the cloud on the price. We want this lagging line to come through as well. So the lagging line is testing the cloud at the moment. We don't want this to go any lower in the short term for this trend to protect it. So whilst we have got medium term sort of upside for the euro on that daily chart, on the 60-minute chart we're on a bit of a knife edge. So we need to watch how this chart develops in the coming hours. And if we look at the point and figure chart, this is the 1 minute chart, we see we've got targets of 140.04, 139.80, 140.09, lots of upside. This is the bit where we come back to test the support. Similar to the cloud on the lagging line, we've come back and tested on this 1 minute chart. So look out for new price action. A little bit of a downside target, but we'd still favor the upside and more upside buying thrust. So we expect very short term a turnaround heading back to these 140 area for the euro dollar. And if we look at the very short term chart, this is the 0.005 by 3 chart, very, very sensitive. Again, some upside targets. And here we do get a little bit more visibility on the downside because we've got a bit more granularity in the chart. This is for extremely short term trading. This chart will change in real time quite dramatically. So keep an eye on this one if you're trading the euro dollar short term. If we look at dollar sterling cable, here we see really quite interesting that yesterday we had the first time we had a 12-month intraday high. We had a 12-month intraday high on sterling. So we really are testing this 163 level. And the basing pattern does suggest a bit like a triangle where you've got more and more basing action, and the resistance does suggest we'll break out. So the sterling certainly looking pretty bullish against the dollar. And if we look at the point and figure chart, we have an upside target of 189. Notice these downside targets given. First one was met, the little one was not met, but here we've got 189 as the thrust target off this buying thrust off on sterling. So quite a lot of potential upside, change in trend, meaning that really the outlook for sterling is stronger than the dollar. When we look at the 1 minute chart, 163.50, 163.40, that's like a cluster. We've nearly got there. Shows how we've moved up towards that target zone. Not a lot more to play for on this chart. If we go to an even more granular chart, smaller box size, 163.55 does take us to a new high. So we close above this 163 level. That starts to look quite good on the bigger long-term picture of breaking to a new high. If we look at the US dollar against the yen, so dollar yen, we see here on the cloud, remember the Ichimoku charts work very, very well for dollar yen. In Japan, they swear by them. Here we see the cross up through the cloud, bullish above the cloud, then the move down through the cloud, bearish below the cloud, and now we're really sort of testing this this cloud again. We're through on the price, but we've come back, not through on the lagging line. We'd want to see that lagging line through and building some new action above the cloud for us to say that this trend had reversed. But you can see the cycle by which you would use the cloud here. And we look at the 1 minute point and figure targets, we see the downside targets were given and met. These targets have an incredibly uncanny accurate record. Now we've got a new upside target, 82.65, and that's the one to watch at the moment. But at the moment, the trend is down as per that 60-minute chart. So we see with the 60-minute charts and the 1-minute point and figure charts, we do get the trends concurring with one another. One of the big stories in currencies this week is the Swiss franc. The Swiss franc making a new multi-year high. This is really quite incredible. 107. So the Swiss franc worth more than $1 now, really starting to run against the dollar, breaking to this new high. A lot of it may be gold driven. It doesn't really matter why it's happening. This is the chart that counts. The fact that we're breaking to new highs is quite significant on the Swiss franc. And if we look here at the cloud, we see the 60-minute cloud, and we see how we had the short-term down move. Then around middle of February, dollar weakness kicking in across quite a lot of currencies. We then broke above the cloud, running all the way above the cloud, and now we're testing this cloud. We don't have a lot to do in order to stay above this cloud. So, can we just hold these levels with a lagging line and continue to move up? Not a sell yet. We'd want to see the price and the lagging line moving down below this 107 level, really, to give us a signal on this cloud right now. Keep an eye on that one. If we look at the long-term targets, 121 not yet activated, 118 has been activated, and 140, that's hard to imagine, another 40% upside. So really quite an interesting chart, this one. Long-term, the Swiss franc looking very, very strong indeed. And then if we look at the 1-minute chart, we see the 1-minute targets that were given off this thrust off the low, these target areas given and met. The last one often not met. So that one is still in train, but we've fallen away a bit from there. Notice this trend support kicking in from the previous lows, these internal trend lines, really quite important. And then again, we see we could afford to come back on these down targets of 106.10, 105.50, and we'd still be pretty well on this support level. So really, Swiss franc is on a little bit of a knife edge short term, but long term it's looking very, very bullish. If we look at the Aussie dollar's had this incredible run at the end of last year where we broke through the cloud. We were bullish, 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 consolidation, but at no point did we come through the cloud either on the price or the lagging line. So we really do see the confirmation here of support, really looking like a basing pattern, consolidation, run up, consolidate sideways, looking like another break to the upside on the Aussie, but too early to call. But at the moment, not a bearish chart. And if we look at the point and figure chart, if we do make a new high above this 102.50 level, 103, then 114 is the next target. This target has been given, but not yet met. Notice the way the 105 target, the $1.50 chart, $1.005 target was given and met. We've got a little downside target that's not activated. Here's the story on the Aussie. Break lower, 93, break higher, 114. At the moment, you'd favour the 114 given the uptrend and that cloud picture. So quite interesting. We go to the 1-minute chart on the Aussie dollar. We see 102.40, 102.65. So we have got targets taking us into that high area, but we've crossed this trend short term and a little bit of downside movement. These 1-minute charts you've got to keep a very close eye on if you're trading currencies. They give you the targets, they give you the risk reward ratios. These are the charts to trade if you look at if you're using trading currencies. So moving away from dollar now, we look into the pairs against one another. So here we look at euro sterling. So this now helps us establish, we saw that it was dollar weakness against both sterling and euro. Now we're looking at the euro sterling. We can resolve which is the stronger of the two out of euro and sterling. And here we see that almost we got to parity on the euro, where it was worth almost as much as £1, but in fact we've come all the way back. It's been quite a long trend. We have had some false dawns through the cloud, but because we're below the cloud again, we remain bearish on the euro versus sterling, i.e. sterling stronger, euro weaker, dollar weaker than the two. But here we see how we literally have got this bearish pattern on sterling. And then if we look at the point and figure targets, this is a daily chart, and here we see the downtrend has kicked in. We've crossed through this uptrend, and so this was the run up to the 97 level that we saw, and then all this price action has given us downside targets, and these last two thrusts pointing to 73, 73.50. That's a cluster really. It's telling us that the euro versus the sterling, we're going from about 85 pence to buy the euro to around 73 pence to buy the euro. So we really are seeing quite a big move potentially in the euro sterling rate. And then if we look at the short-term charts, these are now the 1 minute charts. Remember, these change very quickly and dramatically against your on your screen. These are real time. Here we see 86.40 was given as a counter trend move, given, not met. That's bearish confirmation, so that we didn't make the target. Now we've got the new downtrend kicking in, 84.55, 84.40. These are the targets to look at now on euro sterling. If we look at the euro-yen rate, we really see this complete sideways action that's going on in euro-yen. So not a lot of trending, not a lot to play for, maybe a place to use oscillators if you are trading this, but it's going to be short moves in either direction, no discernible trend here. So at the moment, this has been going on for several months. Euro-yen is not a great rate to trade for a trending action. And here we see from the point and figure targets on the 1 minute chart, 114.30 was given but not met. We've got a new downside target of 112.20, not met. This is trading aimlessly. It's in the sideways trend. You need to be aware of that. If it's not trending, you're not going to get a favorable wind against you in terms of where you want to trade. And here we look at Euro Swiss. We know the Swiss is looking strong against the dollar. Also looking strong against the Swiss. Swiss looking strong against the euro. So this is the euro's value versus Swiss falling all the time. And notice how we really haven't been above the cloud for really a couple of years. So euro Swiss has been a one-way trade if you're in Swiss versus euro. So Swiss still looking the strongest of all currencies right now in the majors, so really quite powerful. The dollar Swiss is probably going to provide more opportunities because dollar weakness looking greater than euro and Swiss looking the strongest. So dollar Swiss is going to be where we're going to see the big moves. And then if we look at this, the NOK, the Norwegian krona, really this chart alone just shows us how we're really testing this 770 level on the euro. So really quite key. Will the Norwegian krona finally break and look stronger than the euro? Quite an interesting chart, that. And here we see the cloud on this 60-minute cloud on the euro krona all the way through here, and we did have a little bit of a move up, so watch out for another one of those. It needs to be greater to be convincing. We want to see some price action building above this, but right now this level of 770 coming under real pressure, so looking like the Norwegian krona might actually break that level. So just keep an eye on these, and last of all, the targets. Here we see downside thrusts in the downtrend. That's what you would expect. 768, 771, 7675, 7676, 764 is the current target. Keep an eye on these kicking in as we see new real-time price action. That's it for currencies. I'm always happy to look at them. Just email me at david@updatata.com and I'll do my best. Until next time, happy charting. See you then.